Welcome to the Maximum Mom podcast. And today I am super excited to have Cathedral Capital's one and only Brooke Lively and Pam Meissner. We get the visionary and the integrator of Cathedral Capital. So this, I can imagine, is going to be an awesome conversation. Now, of course, I'm just noticing Brooke's lovely thing behind her. We're going to have to talk about that too.
Oh gosh, yes.
Thank you so much for joining me. And we were just chatting all about Mother's Day food. So if you got that at the beginning, that was just us discussing our various traditions around Mother's Day and other holidays. Thank you both, Pam and Brooke. I'm so glad to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. Well, first, I always like to know just about your families. You know, here we are, the Maximum Mom podcast. So a lot of times we talk about what makes us moms. So we're going to start with Pam. I know she had a lovely Mother's Day yesterday. So Pam, tell us who makes you a mom.
I have two children. Gabby, who is here. I'm actually recording this from Boston. So she's here and newly launched. She's 23. And then I have Jake, who is a junior in college, and he is 21.
That is fun. You have that young adult age like I have as well. And
Yeah,
Brooke, I know you have a huge family.
I have a huge family, but no children. So we actually, because last night was Mother's Day, we took a picture of what we call the littles. And I think we had probably 15 children under the age of 6 that we shoved on a couch and took a picture. And I am an absolute baby fanatic. So I got to hold baby Sammy and baby Ryan and baby Lucy.
Oh my gosh.
Baby Robbie and baby Eddie.
That is so awesome. I love that. So you're like aunt extraordinaire.
I am. And I tell my nephews all the time that I will give them anything they want. And their parents just roll their eyes. And I'm like, it's time this baby had chocolate cake. And they're like, gosh, don't do that. We have to take them home. I'm like, exactly. You're taking them home.
Exactly.
so Elise, she's like, if grandmothers are bad, then there's Auntie Boo.
Yeah, there's a whole nother level for me.
Well, but it's like grandma, but with the energy and enthusiasm of a young person. I mean, grandma, it's like grandma on steroids with an
kind of scary
to boot.
It's awesome. I love it.
I love it. I wish my kids had an Auntie Boo. I just think that is amazing. I mean, you know, they love that. I mean, the kids.
Well, and my godchildren had the same thing, and they're getting older now. They're about to be 18 and 22. And, you know, I finally pointed out, I'm like, if you tell me what you want for Christmas, I'll give it to you.
Right.
And they used to put like $30 things on I'm like, no, I will buy your affection.
Right.
I
want to win Christmas.
Yes, it's a full contact sport for Brooke. Christmas.
It is. Now, the year my godson asked for a car, and it was like a 1973 Cadillac. I'm like, surely there is a junker Cadillac. Like, I thought this was hysterical. If I had to tow this thing onto my best friend's front yard, I would have been totally fine with that.
Right.
$50,000. Couldn't find it. I had my whole family at Thanksgiving Googling, trying to find this car.
No
way.
Oh
yeah, it was hysterical. I was like, okay, I admit there is an upper limit, and $50,000 is over it. I don't know what the limit is, but I know that 50,000 is too much.
That's hilarious. We actually bought our son a junker car. It was a Mustang when he was a freshman in high school. And he now rebuilds car engines. This is what he does for his hobby, is rebuilding and then selling car engines. But ours was very cheap. I think it was like $1,500. And
yeah, that I would have done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I could only find fabulously restored ones.
That's
happening.
hilarious. That is so hilarious. Well, tell us a little bit. I mean, I'd like to hear from both of you actually about your career path. And then I really want to talk to you about Cathedral Capital and what you all do, especially for attorneys. And I mean, the attorneys in this Maximum Lawyer group, all of us can use your services. And so I really want us to dig into that. But Brooke, first you tell us, what about your career path? How did you get to where you are now?
You know, I think I took the path less traveled. I went to an all-girls high school. And I remember in college, they sent out a statistic saying that the average woman has 5 to 7 careers, not jobs, but careers. And, you know, I think I've really lived up to that. I've tried very hard. I didn't go back to grad school until I was 35. I was in retail forever. Went to grad school, got an MBA in corporate finance, double MBA in corporate finance and investments, and got my CFA, my chartered financial analyst, and did what you're supposed to do. I went to work for a hedge fund, which was not my bliss. Meanwhile, my father, who likes to shed his law partners every 7 to 10 years, shed his law partners and lost his office manager in the process and said, "Can you help me run this firm?" And I said, "Sure." And the hedge fund was like, "We don't care if you work from Fort Worth a couple of days a week and Dallas a couple of days a week." So I ran my father's law firm. Eventually I quit the hedge fund and just ran his firm. And that was when I discovered that attorneys don't run their firms by the numbers.
It's a truth, I must admit.
I was shocked. My family is very math-based. And so we've always been pretty analytical, but I had hired someone to help with sales and marketing. And his clients started coming to me and saying, "Can you do for us what you do for your family's law firm?" And I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I can."
Wow.
So that's how the company was born.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. It's so true though about us lawyers. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, Pam, tell us about your career path.
Well, mine started off as the well-traveled road, and then life took over. So I started straight out of college, got my CPA, went to work for Pricewaterhouse in Chicago, then transferred. And this is where it got a little onto the road less traveled. Transferred right after the wall came down. I'm that old, and moved to Warsaw, Poland, and I was the first one in my family in 100 years to go back to the homeland. And so back then it was a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and I connected there with my husband at a ball in a castle, and with my favorite client that then offered me a job. And shortly after we married, my husband and I moved to Moscow, Russia. And English is my husband's 4th language, so he travels very, very well. So we moved to Russia, and I worked and I opened the Russian market for Nestle, and that was phenomenal. I mean, we built it up to close to $1 billion in sales in just a few years. Now, we had Nestle's deep pockets. So anyway, it was fabulous. And then we started our family there, and I retired because back then I was working 70, 80 hours a week. And, you know, I knew that if I wanted to be a mom, I couldn't do it both. So I retired. And we moved from Russia. Nestle was offering me an MBA at INSEAD and a position in the UK. My husband's company was offering us Japan. So we moved to Tokyo, and our family continued to expand. And then my husband got offered his dream job back in Russia, and our second child wasn't meeting developmental milestones. So I brought the children back to the States. And for the next 8 years of said retirement, I poured everything into, turns out our son was diagnosed with autism, and everything into him, and founded a nonprofit, so on and so forth. Fast forward to my husband and I realized that we should, you know, the purpose of being married is to actually be maybe on the same continent
Maybe.
And so
It's the most amazing marriage ever.
Quit his job, moved home, and financially we were fine, but it was a prequel to COVID. Everybody was in the house all the time together.
Oh,
So in lieu of somebody not coming out of this alive, I threw my hat in it and I said, forget it. I'm coming out of retirement. I'm going back to work, if only for my mental health. And I hooked up with the local entrepreneur, spent a decade with him. Fabulous journey, and until it wasn't. And so we separated ways, and I said, you know what? I had grown my team up. We had built a nice organization. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go find out what I want to do when I grow up. And on that journey, I found Brooke. And so
wow.
I've been with Brooke since. And, Brooke has amazing aspirations for herself in Cathedral Capital. And on our journey, everybody knows I like a good book. We started to read
Daily.
some books that kind of led us to the integrator visionary connection. And so earlier at the end of last year, we began to have conversations, and it's not easy conversations.
Yep.
Because the proposal of the visionary integrator is one where the visionary has to come to grips with their skill set, and they have to entrust what has become, quite honestly, their child to somebody else to take it to the next level.
Right.
And that is hard to do.
It sure is. It definitely is. Yeah, we will talk about that because it is definitely hard to do. I mean,
It's a project.
What would you say you and I are in the same boat, both visionaries of our businesses, and we started around the same time. I started at the end of last year as well, dealing with this and moving in that direction. What would you say has been one of the hardest things for you as a visionary, implementing traction in the EOS system and in that whole visionary integrator model?
For me, it's really been finding my new role in the company.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've been struggling with for a while. Like, who does the company need me to be, and how do I become that company?
Right.
And what is my new role in supporting the team? And we make a lot of jokes about my special sauce and how I continue to spread my special sauce in the team, but doing it from that visionary place, as opposed to the place of the person who solves all the problems, which is where I've been in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Well, and Pam, for you, how has it been for you having those conversations with Brooke? Because I think you mentioned it, about visionaries understanding, their skill sets limited and not, what I mean? There's things we do really well, I think, as visionaries, and then there's other things we do not so well. And
let's face it, till you get up to the point that you're going to consider, and I've been a number two, a visionary or an integrator before. So I understand what the role is. I understand the positives and the negatives. Mm-hmm. And I've said this many times, I would not do it again if it weren't for Brooke.
Right.
If it weren't for the way that she's handled the tough conversations. The thing is that you, as the visionary, who is usually the principal owner, you've had to do it all. The company couldn't have gotten to this level if you didn't have some resonant skill set in all the areas of the business. Right? But the question that I think most visionaries have to ask themselves is, I got it here, but can I get it there?
Right.
Absolutely. And what, as your business goes from, just getting to a certain point to then stabilizing to becoming predictive, and then maybe one day to scaling, those need different kinds of leaders.
Right.
Right. And in the case of traction EOS, they talk about you really need two kinds of leaders or more kinds of leaders. And until that visionary is ready to let go of some of that, and go off and do the type of leading that they need to do and let somebody else bring up the, stabilize the business. Until they're ready to let that go, then it usually doesn't go well, unless the visionary is completely on board with, this is my skill set, and while I can do this to a point, the business needs a different kind of leader that I am not to get it to the next level.
Right.
But it's a lot of grieving, right? Because
it is a lot of grieving, and it's a lot of, how like you're talking to your children or you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden your mother's voice comes out of your mouth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you say that thing that you swore you would never say. I have the same experience with the team. And I'm like, I know this isn't my job anymore, but I just have to say. And I'm like, and Pam, how many emails do you get? I'm like, I'm totally sorry. I am just like, I can't control it. And she's been really patient with that, because it is a process of letting go and realizing that there are things that she's better suited to do than I am.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think the other thing is that it's going to look different in the next stage of your business's development, right? And the skill set that entrepreneurs have, that visionaries have, is the quick, firefighting. I got this. I know how to do this. Boom, 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 boom.
Fix it.
Right. And that's not scalable. And so to stop firefighting and to build systems is the job of the integrator. And so one of the things that has to happen is balls have to drop. So you can say, okay, the system that let the ball drop was this. Right. And then what do we need the system to be so the ball doesn't drop the next time and the next time and the next time? Absolutely. And that slows things down and it irritates the bejeebas out of most entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, and I know for us, one of the things we have struggled with as we've been implementing this is, what I call addition by subtraction, how we've lost some team members and, you have to deal with that transition. But in the long run, I've been really hopeful about the losses we've had. And I feel like it's been a positive thing from a core value standpoint. Sometimes some people on your team just really aren't a great match for your core values and your vision. But I mean, that's its own set of trouble. I think as a visionary, at least I know for me, it's been, I both have to offer that encouragement to the rest of my team as we're losing somebody, like, that's okay. Like, I actually think this is a positive thing, but at the same time, knowing that it's going to cause instability, it's going to cause revenue issues, like it's got some, some deep causal effects flow from that. And it's been interesting, I think, to watch the team come together around some of these, we call them bumps in our office. We kind of planned for 2021 to be a very bumpy year. And so we find, we're dealing with those bumps but it's, it's been difficult. And I think that it's important for people to understand, that these things, I've heard a lot of companies where this happens when they implement this and really focus on their core values and really learn to hire around their core values and hold people accountable, using their core values and all those things that we learn as part of that EOS system. Have you all experienced any of that or?
Yeah. So I reached out because Elise, that making this transition is not easy.
Yeah.
And it's a learning process. So I reached out to one of my friends in EO who has done it successfully. And I'm like, okay, Mike, like, dude, this is killing me. And he's like, your number one job is to be the keeper of your culture.
Right.
And the core values. And that is where you really make the difference. That is where you have the impact. And so I love that you're talking about the core values with your team, and that's front and center and important, because it really is. And
100%.
yeah,
I mean, I think it makes all the difference. I mean, it sounds silly when you talk about, in a way, being the keeper of your culture, but I mean, I take that part of my role very, very important. And I think it's just critical to helping the team deal with the bumps. They might not be in all the meetings and understanding all the things, but obviously they feel it when a team member leaves, or they feel it when work has to be shifted. And being able to be the keeper of that culture, I think, is critical. I mean, to our well-being as a group.
absolutely. And you don't want to be, and I have to say, I have done this before.
I'm sure I've done it all bad.
And we've all done it. But the whole thing, when somebody leaves and you're like, ding dong, the witch is dead, like, that's not really healthy. We need to respect the people that have worked with us and they've helped us get to where we are, but they're not necessarily the right person to move us to the next level.
Absolutely.
And, your team looks to you as you go through that transition. Is this okay? Is she concerned? That was a major person on the team. That was the only person who knew how to do blank.
Right.
Is Elise panicking? No, she's not. Okay, well, this must not be that big of a deal. She must not be too worried.
Yeah, it is such an interesting dynamic. I feel like I'm growing personally so much in this process of really coming to have, deep-seated gratitude for the people who are on my team, even if they're on my team for a shorter period than I intended, really having gratitude for what they brought, and really trying to see what they brought and be able to build on that, because everybody brings something wonderful, even somebody who is, you can't see that wonderful really obviously. But sometimes it's just an amazing opportunity to really learn better hiring, or understanding testing around hiring, or what I mean? Like making sure we really are hiring on our core values.
Oh, sorry, Pam. I had a boss very early on in my career. I was kind of in a situation where I answered to multiple people, and the person to whom I technically answered was just god awful. And my mentor said, you will learn more from the bad boss than you will from a good one.
So
and
true.
I think the same is with a bad hire.
Yeah,
I think there's a lesson everywhere. Sorry, Pam, I totally cut you off.
No worries. Yes, I think that there are things, and I think the gratitude comes from sometimes those people make you a better leader.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you can model that in front of the team, and when you make the tough decisions, I think the dialogue that goes on around that decision needs to be really authentic. Right.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes it's what you say, and the fact that you're being transparent at that time, I always believe that when somebody leaves, you as the leader say more to the people that stay than you do to that person that leaves. And so you often get a lot of renewed loyalty when people transition. And we observe, and I don't know, I think maybe I've shown you at Cathedral Capital, we have lots of references to mountaineering, right?
Yeah.
And so we have like 4 different mountains that we think most entrepreneurs journey. And we have this, we liken ourselves to Sherpas, right? And so we have the entrepreneur climbing these 4 mountains. And, if we had a more detailed graphic, it would show actually that there are ranges of mountains at different levels. But in each movement from one mountain to the next higher mountain, you see a decline.
Right.
And you cannot grow again until you have some regrouping.
Yeah.
And And that's, I think, what you're talking about some of the bumpiness is we've got to come down and start putting in new systems and stabilizing areas before we can take the next big jump. And that jump can come at a much faster pace with much more momentum. But first you have to come down and find a new baseline, a new normal. And part of the biggest part of that journey is the people that helped you climb that mountain might not want to climb or might not have the resonant skill set to take you to the next level.
Right.
And so that you have to make tough decisions because you as an owner, particularly on the first mountain, which is just get her done,
Right.
are so grateful for the people who helped you get up to that point.
Absolutely.
That you really struggle with the fact that they're not going to come with you on the whole rest of the journey.
Right.
So I think one of the things that I see entrepreneurs not expecting is that the journey up the mountain is one of really perfecting your grief and honoring it for what it was and not focusing on what it could have been.
I think that is such a good point. I mean, I think that's just spot on. I was actually talking to somebody this weekend, and because I tend to be that person that always is turning the mirror on myself just constantly. I'm like, what did I do? What did I, how did I not support this team member well enough, or what, all the things that I can really own, which obviously I do think is important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's very important for me to own my part and figure out what I did wrong, if I did anything wrong, and which no doubt I did. And,
we always do. It's okay.
Improve upon it. But at the same time, you can get to a point, I think, where it's like you say, they're just not going to be on your journey. And I call it on my bus. They're just not going to ride my bus all the way till,
Right.
The final destination. And that's perfectly okay. That transition allows them to find a fit that's hopefully better for where they are. And it allows us to find a fit, which I think is opportunities abounding. And so I really have flipped that to really focus on the gratitude, like Brooke was talking about, of what they've done when they've been here. I mean, and
Right.
just
And we as women appreciate probably more than others that we've had so many unique stages of our lives, right?
Right.
We've had the job that was perfect for us when our kids were little.
Totally.
And in my case, that was retirement.
Right.
Then we had the job that, was great when our kids were in middle school, because we're very capable of understanding that during those middle school, high school years, you're basically an Uber driver, right? And you're going to all these events and whatnot.
And a baker, you're a baker.
Yeah, but you have to be in the right role to facilitate your work-life integration.
Absolutely.
And your work-life integration changes. And then when your kids launch, like yours and mine, it's like, wait, it's a little bit about me now.
Right.
And so we often liken the journey of entrepreneurs, particularly female entrepreneurs, that, you can get your business to a certain level and you can hang out there for a while.
Right.
And then when the kids are launched, right, throw some gas on it, baby, and let's scale.
Exactly. But I think that's the joy of an entrepreneurial journey, is the ability to make those decisions that do resonate with your life and working on that integration. And I love how you call it work-life integration rather than work-life balance. I don't know. I find, there's not often a balance that works. I mean, it's cyclical.
Right. But I can't lay claim to that. Brooke and I have a coach, right? And this is her terminology, because she likens it to, work-life balance is more like a seesaw.
Exactly.
And it's more like this, right?
Yep.
How do you make it work together?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think Pam hits the nail on the head. It's different at different stages. And I think, I mean, when you think about how can Cathedral Capital work with different entrepreneurs at different stages, I mean, tell us a little bit about that, because we have people in our Maximum Lawyer group who are, true solos, starting out practices. And then obviously we have the, people who are, have $1 million months. And I mean, what does that look like, you know, from Cathedral Capital's position, and how do you all help people as fractional CFOs and the other services you provide?
The most important thing is to realize that we meet our clients where they are.
Right.
Every business is different. Every business that has $1 million a month is different from every other law firm that has $1 million a month.
Right.
And we are all about finding the solution that's right for your firm at that moment, and finding the solution that's right for your firm at that moment that's going to help you achieve the goals that you want. So we really talk to our attorneys a lot. Like, what is it? What's going on? What do you need? Because until we understand their life, we can't possibly build a business for them that will integrate with it.
Right.
Is that a fair assessment, Pam?
Yeah, and I think another point is we have a really diverse group of coaches, of CFOs, of accountants, of bookkeepers. And so for some clients, we're soup to nuts. For other clients, we work just on strategy. And so we really try to listen to the clients to say, okay, where are your biggest pain points? And who from our broad team can we put on your team to help you get to the next level? And our expectation is that we will grow with you. And so you might start off with a particular team that meets your needs at that point. And then you say, okay, the next year or in the next 3 years, I want to go from here to here. And we say, okay, to do that, you really need to stabilize your business, and you need to do things like implement EOS. And so we might put somebody forth who is very task oriented, who is very accountability driven. And then you get to that point and you say, okay, I want to diversify because my bliss as a leader is in the infancy of the company. And so then we work with you. We work on a lot of people issues, right? Because we know attorneys are really good at being attorneys. And then they're challenged with finances, and then they're challenged with people issues, and they love to do random acts of marketing. And so, yeah, I know, right? So we work with the owners on those different things, and we hire to create that diversity so that we have somebody on our team who can help you get to the next level. You know, and it really depends. So, you know, I could talk to you about, I have a client who is probably the most data-driven person, and all she needs to do is pour gas onto it. I have other clients that are much larger and that need to go back to some basics. And so to us, it's not so much about the size you are, it's more about what you aspire to do and what your goals are as an individual, and then how those translate and align with the goals of the business. So you know, you and I, we talk about the EOS and the Jumbotron and all that kind of stuff. And you can have all the analytics on there you want, but I have a client, and one of the things on her scorecard is, did you have work-life integration this week? It's a yes or no question.
I love that.
But that's, she does not lead well when she gets out of whack.
Right.
And so every week she has to answer that question, and we put it on and we graph it, and we, you know, Brooke's had clients where they view success as, what was it, Brooke, getting to the ball field on time?
Oh, and all kinds of different things. You know, we had a client that wanted to go to Wednesday morning swim lessons. And, you know, we have to design the firm that meets your needs.
Right. Well, and I think that we as owners sometimes forget that our needs really are going to drive us if we're true about them, and if we really are in alignment with what we say we want. I mean, I do think people sometimes find themselves in the shoulds, you know, like they think they should want a certain thing.
Right.
And
Okay.
I think really getting clear on what you actually want. Like, I mean, I have a friend and she puts it as, write down, like, if you were a bad girl, what do you want? Like, if you were not the responsible, like, all
That's
the
awesome.
I want to do that list.
and just like write down what you actually want. If everything was fair game without regard to responsibility, all the things. And it's fascinating, I think, when you really get to that place and you really look at what you want, and then you look at your work and figure out, well, I can integrate these things. Like I can make this work. I mean, I'm kind of a firm believer in nothing is impossible. I mean, I'm always like, okay, if that's what we want to do, we can do it. We just are going to have to
Find a
figure it
way.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I think it is, we'll find a way, we'll figure it out, we'll make it work. We're entrepreneurs. We do that. Like
Right.
we problem solve all day long.
All day.
Which is why, for God's sake, somebody else just pick the restaurant for dinner. Like I'm done with decisions by the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, the decision fatigue is real.
Oh,
I mean, I sometimes say to my husband, I'm like, you actually want me to read the email from the contractor about the kitchen? I'm like, no. You are going to have to figure out which knobs are the thing, because I've got no idea. And I cannot read the 8 paragraphs he just wrote me in a font that I can't even read. Like,
about
doesn't he
kitchen
know about
knobs.
fonts?
I dated a guy and all he would say is, whatever you want, Brooke Elizabeth. And I'm like, I'm going to kill you. Just make a flippin' decision. Needless to say, we're no longer dating. And make the cut.
It's really hard though. I think decision fatigue is real. And especially when you've been running the business yourself without that team, without that integrator, without all those other people helping. I mean, you could easily have 200 decisions in a day. I mean,
Yes. And you realize that things that are tough for you to make a decision about, kitchen knobs, for example, there are people on your team that's an easy decision for.
And they would love it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so finding where your bliss is and designing your role around that only benefits your business.
Right.
If you can let go a little.
There's the caveat.
It's a hard part. And I try as well, and I'm sure you do too, to help your team members each have their job in their bliss, where they are in their zone of genius, because then they too are able to level up what they're doing, because what they do, they love, it's easy to them. They're not being drained by it. And I think finding the strengths in my team members, that's one of the things I love doing the most, is maximizing each team member and figuring out, what really motivates and propels them, and where do they just feel like they're in their zone of genius.
Yes. And I think that one of the things I admire about you, Elise, is that you've invested a lot in yourself. And when you chose the next stage of, letting go and making room for other people, that you're also investing in them. Because I think a lot of owners and people that move into that integrator role, they're usually promoted from somebody who's really good at client service, right? But the integrator has sales reporting to them, has marketing reporting to them, has finance reporting to them, has HR reporting to them, all things that you've learned over the last 10, 15 plus years. They're just coming up that learning curve, and making space for them and investing in them is hard because you have the answers.
Yeah, but that's critical, I think, to invest in them and let them come into it in their own too. That's going to be different than what I learned. Do you know what I mean? I feel like your integrator really can bring a different perspective that I wouldn't have. That's one of my favorite things, is when people tell me things and I'm like, I didn't even think of that. Unfortunately, that happens a lot now.
Not right, unfortunately, fortunately, like that's awesome.
It is.
But I think where owners, it's easy for you as the owner to make a mistake, right? Because you
Right.
own your decisions.
Right.
But when you decide to move yourself into another role, you're now going to pay for the mistakes and have grace for people as they make mistakes, as you had to give that grace and that permission to yourself.
Right.
And not all owners are prepared that it won't be perfection.
Oh, I think that's really important to come into this. Like we joked about our bumpy year. I mean, we've called it the year of renovation. We bought this house, so we're renovating the house, and we have the firm, we're renovating the firm. And I literally feel like I'm having an entire year of renovation. And it's got bumps, it's got valleys, it's got sharp rocks that we're running into. It's got highs. I mean, it's got it all,
Yeah.
but I think really it's important to accept that. And I don't know, maybe we're bumpier than most, but I kind of doubt it. I feel like we're probably, average bumpy. I think it's important though for people to accept that, because I think you can set up your leaders for real failure if, you're not willing to see the bumpiness that's going to be coming and realize that they do need that grace that you were able to give yourself for all the years you were learning. I mean, that's critical.
Actually, I'm going to take a slightly different tack on that.
Yeah.
I think we need to give our people more grace than we give ourselves. I think that as entrepreneurs, we're really hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
And that if we truly gave our employees the grace we give ourselves, everybody would quit.
Everybody would.
I mean,
she's telling the truth. I mean, our mean girls are strong-willed.
I have a college roommate who's an organizational psychologist, and she calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. And let me tell you, that itty bitty shitty committee is really loud in our heads.
Oh.
And we have learned how to function through it. But we have to be kinder to our employees in the itty bitty shitty committee. And Pam's right. You have to realize that when you hire someone, you have to graciously pay for their mistakes.
Absolutely.
And it's graciously. And you have to give them grace that you don't necessarily give yourself.
Right. I think that's been such a big learning for me, is doing that. And the gracious part of me, truly not feeling resentful or not feeling upset or not feeling angry and looking at it differently. I mean, I've had to really flip my mindset around certain things, and not look at it from just a monetary perspective and actually look at it from a growth perspective and really sit down. I mean, I'm doing this add a girl thing now where I really try to look back 1 month, look back 3 months, 6 months, and really see the growth and actually stop and say like, wow, that was big. Like we've made big improvements.
I just wrote something for CEO Nation about how to stay motivated. And it is about that ability to look back, to see where you were 6 months ago, to see where you were 3 years ago, because we are hard on ourselves. And to see all the progress. And Pam alluded to this earlier. Elise, that when we're running the show, we're like making a decision every second. We're moving forward. We're like, go, 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 go. And then as we get bigger, as we add an integrator, as they start letting those balls fall, which just makes me nuts. I mean, nuts. Pam, nuts.
Oh, trust me, I feel it.
I try so hard. I try so hard.
Yeah, but this kind of comes back to the thing that we all have to be authentic, right? So as people make mistakes and you provide them some grace, understand that we have, what do you call it? The itty bitty shitty committee?
Itty bitty shitty committee.
Yeah. So we all have that, whether you're the visionary or the integrator. And so I think that particularly as women, it's a matter of us coming into our own and, not being told, oh, that's okay, it doesn't bother me. It's really and this is something that we invest in at CathCap, is finding an outside source to help us find that work-life integration, that work on our worthiness, work on, where we have head trash, and knowing that we all have head trash, and then trying to grow up and mature as a person. To your point, you've grown a lot this year, but also as a team.
Right.
Because just like nobody could tell you, Elise, you made a mistake, or Elise, you could have done better, or Elise, you did the best that you could in that circumstance, right? Mm-hmm. Is somebody going to believe it when somebody else tells them? No, you believe it when you own it.
Right.
And I think that attaboy that you say, that you look back and you're like, I was kind of good.
And I think giving your people that permission. And I think also realizing that, when you look at that mistake, when you look at that, one of the people on our team has a phrase that I love. Well, no puppies fell down the well. And she's right. No puppies fell down the well. Nobody died. It's not the end of the world. What did we learn?
Exactly.
We learned something. Exactly. Yeah, we learned that you can't stick a fork in an electrical outlet. It does not go well.
Right.
And I think that's one of Brooke's real skills. And I said, I wouldn't have gone on this journey with someone else, is that Brooke can own her mistakes in front of the team.
Yeah.
Brooke can receive.
I have a lot of practice in that.
Yeah. But Brooke can also receive feedback where we said, could we have done that better?
Right.
And not a lot of owners can be receptive to that. So I think that as you grow as a leader, it's not just about you being the smartest person in the room. It's about you making space.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and for us, one of our core values is radical candor. And I mean, the thing I love about radical candor is that it goes all the ways. Like, it's not just me having radical candor with others, it's others having radical candor with me and being able to tell me, like, Elise, this system you have in place kind of sucks. Like, we need to fix it. And I'm like, cool.
Like I thought it was awesome, but okay.
I mean, I'm just like, to bring it on, tell me what your ideas are, like, and then I'm like, let's get our system girl on this and let's get this worked out, because God knows I am not the system girl. So, but it has been so freeing, I think, to have people be able to just say and bring up their ideas and their thoughts and know that, I mean, I hate to say I'm never going to react poorly, but it is surely my intention to never react poorly and to truly hear what I'm being told from the place I'm being told it. And it's, radical candor is the whole idea of caring personally and challenging directly. And it's a beautiful thing when it works. I mean, it truly is.
It's awesome. I love that. And one of the things that we do is we do a lot of testing before we hire people.
Yeah.
We are pretty damn candid. Okay. Radical candor is not one of our
we don't have
core values. Yeah. We don't have to work on that. We're good at that, but we also are very careful to hire people that can stand up to that, because
completely.
that can be brutal for people who aren't ready for it.
It truly is. I do think, you must balance the caring personally and challenging directly. I don't know if you've ever read Kim Scott's book, Radical Candor, but if you practice radical candor in a way where those two are not properly balanced, it can become bullying. You know what I mean? It can be difficult. And so it is, I agree. And I think it is so important. And I really try to encourage that type of communication, because I'm just a good Southern girl. You know how we are. We kind of say what we say. We sometimes throw a bless your heart at the end, so it kind of sounds nicer, but
but yeah,
But
we're gonna be like, really, was that the best choice for a hairstyle?
Oh gosh, don't even get me started on, clothes, the whole bit. My poor daughter, I think, was traumatized by life with me as a mother. She'd come out one day in an outfit and I'm like, is this dress like a hooker day or what? Like, what do you have on? She was like, oh, God,
Oh, Elise.
I guess I'm changing. I'm like, oh, yes.
And one of the
Sure
things
thing.
we've invested in on our part, and I think Elise, you kind of, and Brooke accentuated this. One of the things that our clients tell us that they like about us is that we're strong women,
Right.
right? That they're attracted to our strength, they're attracted to our candor, and that they're so grateful that we're empathetic.
Right.
Yeah, I
Because-
think that lack of judgment is really important. And I think one of my first clients, he was like client number 2 or 3, said, I'm going to have to show you my underwear drawer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am not coming, lived actually near you, Elise. Like, I'm not coming out there to see, what are you talking about? He said, you know that underwear that's in the back?
The ratty.
That's ratty, maybe some skid marks that didn't quite come out. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't need to know this. He's like, I'm going to have to show you my financial underwear drawer.
I love that.
And I was like, yeah, you are, but that's okay, because we're going to make it better. And one of the things that people really don't realize about us is we have seen worse.
Right.
I promise we have seen worse. We have seen people who owed double-digit millions in back income tax, and we're paying it off, oh yes, at like $1,500 to $2,000 a month. We've seen people that have had over $1 million in payroll tax due. We've seen clients that had almost 7 figures in credit card debt. We've seen it. I promise you, we have seen it, and we've seen it worse. And what we have realized in all of these scenarios that we saw is that owner made the best decision they could at the time.
Right.
Mhm. Like a mother, you do the best you can, given the circumstances.
And you
100%.
drop the child on their head. And my sister can still string together a sentence, because yes, I did that. By the way, don't put a child on the trunk of a car and think that they're not going to roll over. Just saying. I had to learn that rule, that lesson as a like 15, 16-year-old. But anyway,
I love the thought that y'all could create a tagline around, up-leveling your underwear drawer.
yeah, it is. We're gonna clean out that underwear drawer for you. But it's great because, every single business owner did the best they could. They made the best decision they could at the time with the information they had. And there's only one place to go, and that's up and better.
Exactly.
And that's okay. And that's why we're here.
Digging into the numbers with you all and understanding what's happening, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think it's just so empowering, because you're able to really then make decisions and you look at things differently. And I know when I get on the phone with Pam, there's times that I'm like, oh gosh, what is she gonna say? And it's been, I think having somebody who is candid and but that she knows what she's talking about. Pam's got an understanding of things that's so helpful. You just know she's got this, but she's also understands my weirdness, and she'll listen to my stuff and what I'm trying to do. And that's huge. Because you got to be able to integrate it. I think you all say it so well when you talk about that, work, human integration. You have to get it. And
so if you get that, you can also give that to your team.
Right.
Because that's really what most people want.
Yep.
Is to say, I'm going to show up for you, and you give me the flexibility to integrate these two things.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, that's obviously for our office, that's a huge part of what we do and how we do it. We are so into providing that flexibility and staying nimble enough that we can always provide that flexibility. I think just being a mom of, 4 and 2-step kids, I mean, dealing with 6 kids definitely required some nimbleness. So
That's a house full.
oh, girl, you don't even know. I mean, the things I have done and the places I have done them, I think of court hearings on top of mountains as I'm bringing children to look at a school. And I'm like, yes, I can do an immediate, restraining order hearing. I'm just happen to be on the top of a mountain in Colorado. And I sure hope my service is going to, withstand this, but I'm good.
And Elise, you and I are mothers of a certain age, and, we had to make tough choices as we went along. And one of the reasons that I so enjoy working at CathCap is because we're trying to offer opportunities for women to get that work-life integration that weren't available when we were young professionals. Most of our team, over half of our team, works part-time.
Right.
Part-time and flexible. So they work the hours that work for them.
So, part of the mission is to make it better so that women don't. I think the one thing that if I could eradicate is maternal regret.
Totally. I agree. Yep, I do.
And there's times in our lives where you have to make choices. And, my husband and I were just reflecting on that. We just celebrated 26 years. And I'm like, those were some bad years. He goes, yeah, but there were some benefits of that too. I'm like, really? Tell me. And he just went and listed a bunch of benefits.
He was like, I lived in Russia and I didn't have to experience them.
Right.
Well, but I think that some of it is, for particularly for strong mothers, is that sometimes when you're not available, it makes space for somebody else to step in and do it. And, the spouses might not be as good as you are, but gosh darn it if they aren't entertaining.
Oh, well, and they're great for the kids. I mean, I feel like in a divorce practice, I tell people all the time, I'm like, your spouse doesn't have to do it just like you for it to be valuable to the child, and I mean, sometimes dads do the most hilarious things in their parenting. And I am like, this is amazing for your child. I mean, think of all the opportunities your child has by having this experience. And instead of attacking it, embrace it and see your husband's strengths.
Which I'm pretty sure that most husbands' strengths are not running carpools. Dropped off at the school, the mothers just laugh at how they don't understand the rules and they just get her done. And you never know, giving them space might make your kids appreciate you just a little bit more.
Exactly.
I don't know. My father was the opposite. He kind of let my sister in on a secret early on. She was in like 6th grade and had a dance, and my mother was out of town. And I was, probably out of college at this point. And so she said, I need black shoes. My father said, okay, well, I guess we go to Neiman's. So took the 6th grader to Neiman's for shoes. She had more expensive shoes in 6th grade than I did at like 26.
Of course.
With your employee discount, nonetheless.
Yeah, with my employee discount. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. My mother's like, I'm sorry, you took her where? He's like, well, I didn't know where to get shoes. My sister, meanwhile, was like, he started this Stuart Weitzman thing for her that she still has to this day.
That's hilarious. I love that. What a good dad.
What a good dad. My mother's like, I can't afford to keep this one going.
Yeah, for real. I'm so glad the two of you joined me today. I really, really appreciate it. And we will put information about Cathedral Capital in the notes for the show, because I would love for people to be able to reach out to you all. Can you tell us a little bit, Brooke, just about the name of your book that you wrote that I think everyone should read?
Sure. I think I have one on my desk.
Oh, good. That'd be awesome if you could show it so then people would recognize it.
Where did my book go?
You probably gave it to your last client.
Well, all my clients get one. Okay, I have a version. All right, so my book is called From Panic to Profit: How 6 Key Numbers Can Make a 6-Figure Difference in Your Law Firm. I do have a version that is not going to show up because I'm using a green screen.
Oh, yeah.
This is like just disaster day. What can I say?
Well, there you go.
Normally I have one handy, but I'm
Yeah,
traveling.
see?
So
I don't know.
Well, we will
I
put a
cleaned my
picture
desk.
of it. We
Yeah.
will put a picture of it in the show notes so that we can have that, so people will recognize it, because I think it is such a helpful read for law firm owners.
It really is. You know, I wrote it for the true attorney, that person that went to law school because they were promised no numbers. And it's an easy read with a bunch of stories about looking at some simple metrics in your firm that will help you go from panic to profit.
Right. Well, I really appreciate it. I hope you two have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.
we will. Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
bye
having us.
guys. Yes.
Bye.